dawn on you that you were part of a movement that helped bring down one of the most powerful empires in human history?
What empire is that?
The Soviet Union.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure Iron Curtain might not have come down had it not been for rock and roll.
Let's go!
Rock and roll is freedom. Yeah, rock and roll.
That the wall come down, I could never imagine.
You can't stop people from enjoying music.
Rock and roll is freedom.
Rebellion, freedom.
And so you can feel in the room here this energy coming like that.
It's the truth in one power chord.
There's no stronger force in the world than music. None.
An iron curtain has descended across the continent.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Thus begins the Cold War.
Rock and roll music, books about political freedom, and the Bible were all viewed by the tyrants in charge of the Soviet Union as subversive. And you know what? They were right.
Everybody on the world wants to be free.
It was a tumultuous time. All the musicians were doing everything they could to get out of Vietnam. We just wanted to rock.
We are survivors with a light of liberty shining on us for the world to see.
Solidarity, pushing in Poland, and all that together, and a youth revolution caused the whole thing to unravel.
The Iron Curtain is not impenetrable.
Our music was bleeding into them.
The music was so incredible.
Rock and roll shrank the world.
Things are changing.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Almost a generation ago, for nearly 50 years, a far-flung Eastern empire and a vast Western nation built an arsenal of fearsome weapons, preparing to fight a war everybody hoped would never happen and nobody could ever win. They spent endless treasure building thousands of bombers and missiles, each of which could vaporize an entire city in a blinding instant. Several times they came close to fighting that war and possibly even destroying the human race. These two mighty arsenals faced each other across a barrier that divided the world in two and cut Europe in half. The most infamous part of that barrier was a concrete and steel wall 12 feet high, 96 miles long, with 300 watchtowers and 20 bunkers. Nearly 200 people were killed trying to cross it. Yet, what finally breached that wall, in part, was the most innocent and unlikely thing of all. A unique American creation that had nothing to do with bombs or missiles, or even politics, really. Rock and roll music. The story of rock and roll and the Iron Curtain is told in one of the chapters of a book entitled 7 Events That Made America, America. It was written by Larry Schweikart, who's a professor of history at the University of Dayton. But before Larry Schweikart was a history professor, he was a rock and roll drummer.
I was in the high school band. I put my set together one drum at a time, literally. I started with a snare drum, then got a bass drum, and on and on and on. I wanted to play in a rock band. So the minute I got out, literally the next day after I technically graduated, that Sunday I was in a van headed for Peoria, Illinois. We played in Peoria. And never forget setting up one time, and we didn't have a single amplifier plugged in, and the manager came out and said, "You're too loud." He knew. He knew.
Rock and roll is freedom.